Hello there. That looks better.
Yeah. And I've shut everything else down but Zoom. So hopefully this will work.
Good
I don't
stuff.
know. Maybe I just had too much open. It didn't look like I did, but there are things running in the background. So all right. Before anything else goes wrong, let's go ahead and do this.
All right, my friend.
All right. So I'll introduce you. We'll go to the 10 questions and then we just kind of have a chat. All right.
Okay.
And
Sounds good.
at
I
the
don't
end,
remember half the questions that you asked me and I answered on the email, by the way. I assume that doesn't
yeah,
matter that much, does it?
it's just to give me a little bit of kind of what to go on.
Right.
So yeah, I've got
Perfect.
that. I've got your LinkedIn profile and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll just go through and talk. At the end of it, if there's anything that you think, oh, I wish you would ask me about this because I really want to talk about this, we'll pause. I'll ask you the question and we'll do it. So I want to make sure you
Ah,
get everything
cool.
in there that you want. All right.
Perfect.
So give it a couple seconds to so I know where to start editing and we'll
All
start.
right.
Hey, Coach Harlan here. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal week. I'm having a great week, and I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today. Please help me welcome Darren Gibb. Leveraging more than a decade of teaching experience in high schools, Darren ensures that his clients fall back in love with the sales and marketing aspects of their business. Darren helps coaches and executive coaches build better audiences, create better content that attracts and repels the right and wrong people, and teaches them how to use direct messages or DMs more effectively to book more sales calls and close them. Darren does this through his close framework, which ensures the clients that they can spend less time on LinkedIn and more time doing what they love, such as working with their clients. Darren, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Harlan. How are you, my friend? All good?
Everything is good. Everything is good now. Absolutely. So I got to say, you put sales and marketing and love all in the same sentence. That doesn't always go together for people, but you help them find that. How do you do that?
Well, if people are passionate about their business, Harlan, should they not damn well love it? That's very much the way that I feel about it. So, look, it's sales and marketing's a vital part of any sort of business. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of solopreneurs, predominantly coaches, executive coaches, I know you're listening, you don't want to hear this, but your content sucks. Stop talking about your stuff. Stop talking about that webinar you've got upcoming where there's only 4 spots left, and start getting real about the actual problems your prospects face. So that's it. People, what we do in sales and marketing, it's not changed in between 80 or 8,000 years, depending which way you want to look at it, right? And I just think it is about that. People are passionate about their businesses. They should be passionate about spreading the word about them and closing people to truly transform their lives.
Nice. Very cool. Well, being a business coach, I'm definitely interested in hearing more about what you do. I want to dive into your background a little bit. You were an English teacher, how you made that transition into coaching and helping in the marketing sales area for coaching. I want to talk a little bit about leadership and what it takes to be an effective leader, and maybe what you've seen with some of your clients, everything like that. But before we get into that, I have 10 questions that I ask all of my guests. Now, listeners know these are the questions used on the TV show Inside the Actors Studio, where the host James Lipton asks these same questions of his guests from Hollywood, TV, film, and stage. And I figure if they're good enough for the Hollywood elite, they're certainly good enough for my guests. So, Darren, if you're ready, I've got 10 questions for you.
Let's go for it.
Question number one: what is your favorite word?
Yeah, we have to be careful this one, don't we? Being Scottish. My favorite word, probably love, to be honest. Like love is just a beautiful word. The sound of the vowel sound in it. I was an English teacher, poetry and things. Just the word love. I think that we should love as much as we possibly can, and we should really try to ensure that those we do love, we treat with the utmost respect, whether it be clients, whether it be people we disagree with, whether it be people that we're very close with in life. So yeah, favorite word. It's I could have gone for onomatopoeia. That would certainly be up there, but I think
Right.
love's gonna have to just take the biscuit. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. What is your least favorite word?
Hate. Hate. I think it's
Uh,
just it's a crass word. It's not. There's another 4 letter word which I do like incredibly, but again we won't get into that. But yeah, hate. I think It's the antithesis of love, quite simply. And it is, if people hate doing things, I always want to find out why. When I was a high school teacher, why do kids
Mm.
hate English? How can kids hate language? And quite often they don't hate it, they just find it incredibly difficult. And quite
Sure.
often that goes into a different pre-learned experience of it. I'm terrible with mathematics. I'm terrible with maths. Well, I was in later years diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome when I was 8 years old. A teacher, surprise, surprise, refused to help me with a maths problem for three
Wow.
days. And that's where my hatred of maths comes back and my fear of maths. So quite often things that we hate, we need to dig down deeper as to what it is. And if I can transform that hate into a like or even into a love, then it's a pretty successful thing I've been able to do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I
There we
dislike it
go.
when people say I hate X. Like you
Yeah.
don't even know that. You've never tried that. You don't know that person. How can you say something you hate something when you know nothing about it? So yeah,
Totally.
I'm with
And
you on that one.
it's a word that's so easily used as well. And I'm guilty of it as well. I'll say, oh, I hate such and such, but I always try to catch myself and go, well, do you? Is it a dislike, a strong dislike? Why? And, that's always the interesting part. Almost more interesting than why we love something is, ironically, why we hate something. What is it that creates
Exactly.
that?
Exactly. All right. Question three. What turns you on?
Actually seeing people succeed at something they didn't think was possible. And again, it goes back to the English classroom or it goes back to multi six, seven figure clients. Seeing somebody who hated something turn into try to actually love it. But yeah, that's what kind of turns me on. It's seeing, I used to call it in school kids, it was the sparkle in the smile, the sparkle in the eye and that smile, that realization.
Yep.
Ah, shit,
When the
I
lights go
can do
on,
this.
it's like,
Yes,
ah, gotcha. Yep.
absolutely. And adults have it as well. Adults are
Sure.
almost muffle and embarrassed giggle when they actually something clicks. So that's
Hmm.
what it is. It's really helping in that transformation. And that sounds like such a contrived answer, and I'm aware of that as well. But it is. It's really it's helping seeing transformation and just seeing people able to say I can rather than I can't. I think it's
Right.
a beautiful thing that is a narcotic. It's a drug. I can't get enough of it.
Nice. Very cool. All right. What turns you off?
I can't. This is amazing how this is going. People who say they can't do something, that's bullshit. You can. Don't say you can't. You're unable to at the moment.
Right.
And I think that's a key differentiator. So it is. It's something that frustrates me. It's a little bit like the laziness I need to be careful with because I'm not diagnosed but present numerous ADHD symptoms. When I was training to be a teacher, I remember very clearly sitting in the university classroom learning about ADHD, its symptoms, how it presents itself, what it looks like, and I was like a bloody check mark against everyone. Yep, that's me. Oh shit.
Yep.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yep.
yes, yes, yes. And I learned so much about my own learning actually from that in itself. So I want to be very careful about how we categorize the word laziness, because it can be misunderstood a lot. But yeah, just not people quite giving it their all. I don't get it. If you're not going to do something to the best of your ability, I guess it's just why do it at all, and just too easily dropping out. Yeah, that's really it turns me off.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you. All right. What sound or noise do you love?
God, again, it's contrived. I feel like the most goodness sake, the rain. There's something about the rain.
Yeah.
Maybe it's being
Yeah.
Scottish, and I've lived in Spain for the last 12 years. So see, when I hear rain, it's lying in bed and hearing it outside, right?
Yeah.
It's that's different for me. It doesn't happen like it used to in Scotland. I would never have said that because I heard
Right.
rain every bloody night of the year, you know. But yeah, it's
Exactly.
the rain. There's something about it just so yeah, it's relaxing, it's incredible,
Mhm.
it's nature, there's something about it that yeah, it gives me great warmth in an ironic way.
Nice. What sound or noise do you hate? There's that word again. What sound or noise do you dislike strongly?
It's like strongly. Um, Here we go. I
Uh-oh.
hate inconsiderate arseholes on public transport with their mobile phones in full volume, as if they expect people to be graciously accepted into their world and the
Yeah.
nonsense they are watching on their social media stream. I hate that. It's
Yeah.
the inconsiderate nature of it. Why are you doing that? So I've got a little hack for anyone listening who feels similar to me. Just start intently staring at their mobile phone screen. They quickly turn it down. They quickly start getting a bit embarrassed. I don't know. It's a pet peeve, a pet hate, we might say. It absolutely does my head in. So wait as well. So it's not quite the sound of a buzzsaw. Somebody's mobile phone on social media and a tinny mobile phone in public drives me crazy. In a restaurant, oh goodness me! You know you're paying good money to be enjoying a meal with friends, family, loved ones, and you've got some idiot watching the latest hilarious viral clip
Yeah.
of the Kardashians. No, thank you. I'm not having it. I'm not having it, Harlan.
Or having a conversation on speakerphone.
Oh.
I'd lean over and go, "Hey, tell him I said hello." Look at me
You and
like,
I should
what?
hang out more. I think we could rid the world of this absolute nuisance. Oh,
Perfect.
brilliant.
Let's do it. All right. Question number 7. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck. It's got to be. Or the C word, which I won't say because I know in North America it's not quite as widely accepted. But in Scotland, we've got two types of C word. We've got a good C or a bad C. And a good C is your best friend, but a bad C is your worst enemy. So it is literally that versatile. Why do I love the word fuck so much? I didn't think I was going to be able to say it, Harlan. It's so versatile. Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, if we really want to be creative with things. It's just a beautifully, incredibly concise yet obtuse word. It's a thing of beauty, the sound of it. And it's funny, my dad's not so bad. He swears like a bloody trooper. But my mum, it's a word she can't say. I've heard her say it 2 or 3 times in my life. And when she says it, especially when she's angry, God love her, I can't help but laugh because I can't believe she's saying that word. But I think in their generation, there's such
Yeah.
overt sexual overtones to it. Whereas I think in perhaps my generation, I'm not even, I don't even it's generational. It's so versatile. It's beautiful. It's a great word.
I've been doing this 250 some odd episodes. That is the number one so far. That's at the top of the list. So
Wow. There we
absolutely.
go. Quite
All right.
comfortably out of interest, Harlan. Quite comfortably.
Oh, outranks all of the rest. Yes. It's up there.
What
Yeah.
second out of interest? Or what would second
I,
be top of head?
I
Asshole or something, maybe.
yeah, or BS or something. Yeah.
Oh,
I'd have
shit.
to go back and look, but I mean, that consistently is up there. I almost don't have to ask that question because you just know that's what it's going to be.
That's amazing. Sorry, I know you're desperate. I just very for me that fascinates me. Something that is a culturally taboo word to this
Yes.
day, still you wouldn't get it on daytime American TV or British TV or
Yeah.
anything like that. You know, it can be overused where it becomes like I use it, it's every second word, or like my mum uses it, the world stops spinning on its axis for a
Yeah.
few seconds, right? But it's interesting that something that is potentially so taboo is so far ahead of the rest. That fascinates me.
Yep.
Wow.
It is. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
That's a great one. I would have stayed teacher, genuinely, and I still am a teacher. I just teach differently, but teacher was always what I wanted to be when I was younger. So a different profession. Wanted to be a hairdresser when I was younger, ironically enough. There's a great irony behind that, Harlan. You appreciate it. If you're listening, you won't appreciate it, but if you're watching it, you will. Um, Scientist. There we go. Scientist.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Here's that word again. I hated science at school because the teacher was a number one, two
Mm-hmm.
favorite word,
Mm-hmm.
right? Asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible individual. And I just never got into it. But as an adult, I've had to almost learn it again. And it fascinates me. I find science, I find evolution absolutely mind blowing. The fact that when I was at school, I imagine when you were at school as well, Harlan, this idea that Neanderthals were the knuckle dragging ancestors of Homo sapiens. And we're now seeing, no, actually, Homo sapiens died out quite a few times. And it was really the
Mm-hmm.
interbreeding with the Neanderthals which saved them. It's what built our
Sure.
defenses through from viruses. Oh, fascinating. Science. Yeah,
Yeah.
scientist. I don't know what type,
Nice.
but scientist. Yes.
Yeah, they're a lot more creative than we give them credit for.
Ah,
Absolutely.
totally, man.
But
Totally.
what profession would you not like to do?
Uh, Without being disrespectful, cleaner. Just because I hate cleaning. That's why I've got a cleaner. It's something about cleaning that just puts me in a bad mood. And it's no disrespect to anyone who loves it or hates it. That's not by the by. It's something that just puts me in a bad mood. So therefore, for that reason, it would have to be cleaner.
Okay. All right. Final question, Darren. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What are you doing here, you little atheist bastard?
And he probably dropped the F bomb here and there. You never know. All right.
Well, Darren,
Darren.
just good to see you here, wee man. Like, I've been waiting for you for a while. It's a shame most of your mates are down there.
Yeah. Yeah, with me, it's going to be, yeah, the other line is over there. Yeah, go to the other line. All right, Darren, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about how you got your start, talk about your teaching career in English, talk about how you made the transition, who you work for, and how you help them. And at some point, transition into courage and leadership.
Excellent.
Right.
Look forward to it.
All right, listeners, we're going to talk about all that and more right after this. So stick with us. And I'm back with my guest, Darren Gibb. Darren, thanks again for coming on to the podcast. So English teacher. I'm an English major and I struggle with English. I mean, it's a difficult language. What was it like teaching in high school and whereabouts did you teach?
So yes, I mean, initially I left school at Harling, so I wasn't very fucking good at it. I left school, I got the qualifications I needed to get, got a place in university, but took a year out. I hated school. I didn't enjoy education. I didn't enjoy learning. I didn't enjoy the way it was taught, which is so ironic given as an adult. Well, I love learning. I love learning new things, but as a student, hated it. So took a year out, went to Australia, worked there for a year as like an assistant, basically like an auxiliar, we would say in Spain, auxiliary person as the classroom helper.
Mhm.
And kind of really enjoyed it. Got to work with kids with SEN, special educational needs, and it was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I really like this. This is smart. Unfortunately, it kind of says more about how perhaps at the time, we're talking 20 years ago, kids with SEN were viewed. Give him the wee 18-year-old dafty. He'll be fine with them. But we managed to quite honestly start getting incredible results from this kid. I was really one-on-one with this kid, 6 hours a day basically. I started getting really incredible results, and I just fell in love with it. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but that really solidified it. So I'm undergraduate. I majored, and I was really between English literature and anthropology for a while. Ended
Okay.
up actually doing English literature, but my dissertation was ritual and religion, death and Renaissance tragedy. So I read a lot of Shakespeare and things like
Wow.
this.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, always in the back of my mind being a teacher, but then finished uni, took another couple of years out, went and worked in sales, which is where I get my love from sales. Another story about sales, but that's for another time, perhaps before that. And then got my postgraduate degree in education, worked for 2, 3 years in Scotland, and then moved over to Spain to a British school. And that's where I stayed for the next 4 years. Um, and yeah, I don't know if you want to stop there, but that's kind of how I got it. And yeah, just an absolute love and pleasure of working with young people, teenagers, and teaching English. What an amazing subject to have the
Yes.
privilege of teaching. I mean, like fondest memories teaching Shakespeare to a bunch of 16-year-old
Wow.
horny adolescents who didn't want to be there and just wanted to make out behind the bike sheds, but
Right.
actually getting them to understand why this is relevant and how this isn't some boring old guy who died 500 years ago. That actually the central themes of their horniness, their love,
Yes.
their hate, their
Yeah.
attraction, their disattraction, their vengeance, everything is relevant. And that was just a privilege. And then getting to explore politics. I mean, the Scottish independence referendum
Mhm.
2014, I got a bunch of 13-year-olds, the poor kids, and got split them down the three ways: yes, no, and maybe. And their task was to research and to have
Wow.
debates. So teach them debating skills, research skills, and debate. And it's just amazing. So yeah, just it
Yes.
was the greatest privilege of my life, and I loved it. What I didn't love was the school being run by millionaire arsehole owners who didn't give a damn about
Mm.
education, didn't give a damn
Yeah.
about the progression of of the kids within it, and just cared
Yeah.
about floating on their yacht in the Mediterranean in the summer.
Yeah.
It was that, and then we're going to talk about leadership,
Mhm.
reaching leadership within there, and understanding actually. I have to bring the whole damn thing down to stand a chance because it is so poorly run here. And that's unfortunately, it wasn't where I lost a love of teaching, far from it. It was my mental health started suffering through poor
Sure.
leadership, laziness. Let's go out of the school 4 p.m. every day. No, that's not how it works, man. You got kids' lives in your hands. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
And I know other people that have been teachers, and they say almost the same thing. Their love was squashed by the system that, number one, didn't give them the resources they needed. A lot of them were paying for things out of their own pocket. They were
Yes.
spending time working with the kids, and all the upper echelon wanted was test results. Just make sure they
Yes.
get a good test result. It's like, but they're
Why
not
the
learning. I don't care if they learn. Make sure the test results are there.
Totally. Why the fuck do we still predominantly judge children
Judge. Yeah.
based on a dumb 2 hour exam done after a 1 or 2 year period? There's no other profession apart from university like this in the world. So if you've got a photographic memory, you're sorted, you're fine. But if you're neurodivergent, if you just simply don't learn that way, why the hell are we putting kids'
Right.
futures at risk based on one single summative exam? Harlan, brother, I don't understand
Yeah.
it. And
I
do
don't.
it progression, do it bit by bit, do it monthly, test them in so many different ways. They're visual, not even through visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, but there's so many different ways you can assess.
Sure.
Give teachers the power, autonomy, and authority to make sensible judgments about those who they bloody well
Right.
see two,
Don't
three,
just
4, 5 times a
regurgitate.
week.
Don't just regurgitate dates and names. That's not helpful. Talk about what was going on, right? And I think having the conversation with the instructor, the professor, to where you can carry on a conversation with them, tell them what was going on, what the thoughts of in society at the time, how did it impact this and that. That's where you really know the subject. And I think that's what we ought to grade people on.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Totally.
This is definitely a topic we could go into for hours and hours
Oh, it
because I am
is.
with you 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how did you make that transition from being a teacher into what you're doing now with sales and marketing?
Yes, yes. So I mean, kind of a story you've heard 100 times, I'm sure as well. I'm not that bloody original, actually. I'm thinking to myself, going, quite an original guy. I'm sure Harlan will be quite happy to have you on his show. And I'm going through the answers, thinking, no, this is common, Darren. So you're going to have heard this answer before, but I went and so eventually I left. So those kids, my babies, I mean, by this point, 17-year-olds ready to go into the world, they were the ones who'd been let down. They were the ones who, until the age of 16, 15, 16, they'd had one teacher teaching them every subject. That wasn't the teacher's fault. That was just the stupid management's fault. So I had to make sure they got English, especially in Spain, super important, right? So, Harlan, my thing was get them their English qualifications. Right, next up, get them their A level grades for English who want to do it. Okay, at least I can say the dropout kids, because they took my subject, because they wanted to be with Mr. Gibb, because they knew I'd look after them and I'd fucking give them a knock when they needed it, but I would get them through it. We're in this together. So I managed to basically see them through. So they applied for uni, they got accepted for uni. Okay, I felt I've done as much as I suppose on one hand as much as I possibly can, and on the other hand, it was a bare minimum because there's still these kids coming up that need my help. But that's a messiah complex more than anything else. They don't. They had better systems in place than my babies who had to go through the shit, basically. So I stayed till then, and then I left. Myself and my friend, really good friend, he was in English as a second language teacher. What else can I do here? Well, I could go to another British school, but I know the way this game works now. I've got friends in other British schools and they all say the same thing. So I'm an idiot if I do that.
Hmm.
So started teaching English as a second language, started working with my friend and starting to create, we're going to create the best learning system in the world. We dedicate hours to it, just working on this. Didn't know how to sell it. Well, I would know theoretically how to sell it. Didn't know how to market it. Was a problem. So after 2.5 years of spinning our wheels, spending so much time together, we had a huge bust up and didn't speak for the next year or so. So
Wow.
that didn't work well. So then here's a bit that puts me in line with, I'm sure a lot of your guests. Don't know if you've heard of this. Certain little thing called COVID. The pandemic came along,
Yeah.
and I had all of my face-to-face classes disappear. Spain after Italy. Italy got really bad really quickly. And Spain, the government, quite rightly so in my opinion, locked up shop. So you literally, by I think March the 10th, you couldn't leave the house apart from to go to the supermarket, the pharmacist, or the hospital. You couldn't exercise. You weren't allowed out of your house. It was proper lockdown. So my business was, or my business, I was a face-to-face English teacher. So after a month, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they went, right, we've got it sorted, Darren. We've got you sorted. All right, so how are we going to do it? Is it online classes? Yeah, it's online classes. Only 30% of the companies, though. Right, so I've lost 70% of my work. Yeah. And it's going to be for €12 an hour. It's going to be for what? Sorry, 12 euros. No offense to €12 an hour, but maybe the arrogant person in me thinks I've got 10 years to 12 to over 10 years teaching experience. I've got an undergraduate degree I did 4 years to do. I did a postgraduate degree. I've got 10 years teaching experience. €12 feels a bit low, especially when I've lost
Yeah.
70% of my classes. So that was a moment, Harlan, I thought, fuck this. How do I do this? How do I get into this? And that was it. It was a case of I had to learn how to really market and to sell. Now, I'd done sales previously when I was a gaps year student over in Australia. I took 3 months out, went to New Zealand, met a girl, as we do, quickly got broke, bought a car. The car was older than we were. It was 21, we were 18. Got down to Wellington, realised, shit, we've got no money. We are a week away from living in the car. I saw a flyer saying salesperson wanted. I thought, you know what? With this silly accent, this silly face, and the confidence to chat to anybody, I should be okay. Let's give it a go. So went, got into sales that way, and then during uni, I was doing sales, and then after left uni, I did sales for 2 years. So I had the sales. It was a marketing I needed to really lock into place, and that was where LinkedIn came along. And oh yeah, it's 4.5 years on. We're now here.
Hmm. Wow. So almost having to live in a car. And I've talked to some other people who reached that point. And
We ended up
COVID,
having to live in the car, by the way. And then there was a
did you?
mad car crash, and then we had to leave Auckland the next day, and we're 350 kilometers away. So the police took us home. Still had no money to get back, but it turned out the person who was going for dinner that night, her brother was driving down the next day at 8 a.m. with his wife to Auckland so we could go there and managed to catch the flight with 45 minutes to go. It's a whole different story, though.
Wow. Wow. So COVID messed up a lot of people. I've lost a couple clients who didn't want to meet online. You know, we were face to face, didn't want to do the online thing because they just weren't comfortable with it and stuff like that. It 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 messed up a lot of people, but it also opened a lot of doors for people. And I love that out of something like that, we can actually, rise above it and be successful.
Yeah, 100%. I would be still working for academies who couldn't. That was the realization, Harlan, wasn't it?
Mhm.
70% less hours, 60% less pay. Well, no one really gives a fuck about me. If
Yeah.
I can't look after myself, no one is in this world. And that's quite a nihilistic perspective
Hmm.
to take. But at the same time, given my experience with management at the high school, with
Yeah.
this now working for academies, it was just that. And I've never dealt that well with rules anyway, Harlan. You might assume. And I thought, you know what? At least I kind of live and die by my own sword. I don't have to get clearance off anyone to put an idea forward. I don't have to get anything checked off. And hey, if I fail, I fail. And that's on my head. I can't make excuses saying, well, management didn't support me. Oh, but this didn't happen. No. And it just, for me, for my personality, it just suits me. So COVID was horrific, a horrific time. But that idea of love and trying to see the positive in things, that's what I managed to get out of it. And I'll always be eternally grateful for that. But at the same
Nice.
time, it was that mindset, wasn't it, Harlan? I
Hmm.
can sit home and play video games like most people
Sure.
are,
Sure.
or I can learn something new and implement it for the future. And that was the mindset I took.
Excellent. So, and I don't know, sales and marketing, you could be talking to almost any business sector. People need help with their sales and marketing, especially. How do you market themselves? How did you settle on coaches and business coaches?
Yeah, so really because they suck.
And that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you.
Enjoy the show, guys. No, I mean, on LinkedIn, obviously, during the pandemic, again, obviously being fully, I'm only ever tell the truth, to be honest. So that's a great
Sure.
question. Pandemic exploded. Everybody became a coach.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that is
just
true. A
feel
lot of
that
people,
I
yes.
went there before. So I initially thought, Harlan, I'm going to be an English teacher online. I'll get high ticket clients in the Middle East. I'll take
Okay.
them in the pharma industry because I'd worked in that here in Madrid, and I'll do sales as the hyper niche because I've done sales before. So that's how I started out. It was only the fact that after 6, 8 months, I started getting far more native speakers connecting with me, asking me about storytelling on LinkedIn. It
Okay.
went, I've got to look at what's happening with the market here. And it was predominantly coaches. So that was really what shifted it for me. So that's why coaches and business coaches, and because executive coaches, they're so passionate about what they do, but they just don't know how. One of my clients, I'm not going to mention their name, I'll even take the gender out of it, an executive coach, phenomenal, built themselves a really good personal brand,
Mhm.
but something's missing, even to the extent that we're getting inbound leads, which not everyone gets. It was good, but we had to do something different. So I worked with her on frame control. So I reminded her and taught her how to be using this. She's the expert and she's the prize. And too often she was forgetting that and chasing clients and not really giving them a time frame and saying, look, we need to go ahead with this now, if not A, B, C, X, Y, Z. It'd
Right.
be far too much to go into here, but just teaching her how to create, maintain, and stack these frames in emails and in DMs. So this person's target was $1 million for the year, which is a nice target to have. I thought, yep, we can
Sure.
do that.
Yeah.
Gave her 5 sessions, and that was it. That's target. In 5 sessions, we can get her en route to 1 million. After 2 sessions, we had to change that target because she's
Wow.
closed deals now at 550,000 after 2 sessions. So it
Wow.
was a case of she knew her niche, her business inside out. She just didn't know the marketing and the sales perspective and tricks or tactics or strategies. I don't like tactics, I like strategies. It was just a case of showing her strategies, how to do it. And when I could do that with this person, I keep on saying the gender by accident. Natural, but this person, you'll never guess the gender.
Yes.
Don't rewind, you'll be cheating. This person was able to really start falling back in love with business because they were beginning to hate. See what I've done here, Harlan? See what
Yes.
I've done
I
here,
see.
folks? They're
Yes.
beginning to hate the sales and marketing perspective, which
Right.
wasn't allowing them, see what I've done again, to be able to truly transform their lives and the companies that this person was working in.
Yeah. No, I mean that sounds very familiar because I'm that way as a business coach. It's so number one, I was brought up Roman Catholic. Do not brag about yourself, right? Don't. I, so it's hard for me then to put myself out there a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm doing sales, but I'm doing it wrong. I'm like grabbing the person by the lapels and shaking them, trying to sell them something rather than, like I said, telling stories, just sharing who you are and your brand and what you can help them accomplish and things like that. Is that what people get wrong? Is just their approach to it, or they have like old archaic ways of selling rather than going into the storytelling?
Yeah, so storytelling is just really a part of it, but it's an old archaic bullshit $47 low ticket product they've bought off a LinkedIn influencer and tried to use. Well,
Sure.
here's the
They
problem.
promise 7x. I will,
Exactly.
I will, I will get, robust abs in 7 minutes a day, right?
Exactly. 10x this in 30 days. It's numbers and X's and it's all bullshit at
Yes.
the end of the day. So it's, people typically who download the low ticket stuff, I understand why. They're scared, they don't have the investment, but they need to make that investment in themselves. People say they're broke. Don't tell me you're broke when you're using an iPhone
Yeah,
because you've somehow got that money. So don't
sure.
tell me if you value something, you will find a way to change it. And I think that's a mindset shift for a lot of people. But yeah, downloading the cheap crap. It's the same templates. Well, templates don't work. Spoiler alert, everyone, you're a unique individual with your own sets of thoughts, feelings, emotions, the way you operate, what you like, what you dislike, so on and so forth. So it's about skills. As a former teacher, as a former English major yourself, as a teacher, I never taught fucking painting by numbers. I taught skills. I taught you how
Right,
to analyze a text, not just how to answer questions. Answering questions doesn't work.
right.
It'll get a result to an extent, but it's not what you need. You need to learn a skill. So yeah,
Yes,
so within a DM strategy, for example, you're talking about, so to take you, Harlan, you're saying, you're taught not to boast, not to big yourself up.
mhm,
Perfect. Don't. Just talk about your clients and the great results they've got and what you did to achieve it. You're not bigging yourself up. You don't need to. So that's part of the
right.
old marketing. I am The big I am the big
Right.
cheese. Look at me and
Me,
what I
me, me, me,
did.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, here's my business client. She closed $500,000 after a couple of sessions. Here's what she did.
Nice.
Here's what we did. Without me, that success clearly isn't possible.
Right.
I've enabled
But
that
you're not beating them over
transformation.
the head with it. Yeah, you're
That's
not
it.
beating them over the head with it. You're just kind of mentioning it in passing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you can get or engineer a screenshot of a WhatsApp message or a DM from a client saying how fucking brilliant you are, let
Hmm.
that do the boasting for you.
Yeah.
No one
Nice.
does like that big cheese, I'm the greatest. There's a place on there that some people it works for, but for the majority, I'm the same. I just feel uncomfortable. So it's client success stories, because
Yeah.
stories are sticky and stories by their nature include transformation. It's a transformative aspect of a conflict that's been resolved. Old English
Love it.
lit, right? That's what we do, isn't it,
Hmm.
Harlan?
Yeah,
That's what a
absolutely.
story is. So having that conflict, that feeling, how we resolved it, the outcome, that's what it is. That's a client success story. But too many people are focusing on their ego. Like in the
Yeah.
DMs. No, I don't want a fucking 15-minute discovery call to find out how much my life sucks and you can change it all around. No thanks, Arlen. I don't know who you are and you don't know
Right.
my problems. So it's really simple. First thing we do, LinkedIn, I don't mind sharing this with everyone. Why not? Go in there constructively and a bit more with commonality. What is it that you've liked about somebody's post? If somebody's commented or posted or commented or liked even your post, brilliant. Have the starting point of a conversation. What's the commonality? What's that thing that you both identify in? If I've commented on Harlan's post and somebody else has commented on Harlan's post, I surely have the right to like the other person's comment, give a response to it, and start up a conversation about it. If you're
Nice.
creating content, about 70 to 80% of it should be focusing on not pain points, because pain points are useless. It should be on symptoms. Harlan, this is where everyone gets it wrong. And you're told, write about
Hmm.
pain points.
Right.
When you break it down, 3% of people are pain point aware and looking to buy, looking to solve it right now. 3%.
Right.
7% are problem aware, but that pain's not sufficiently enough to actually get out their asses and do something about it.
Yep.
That means 90% of your viewers don't have a clue about the problem, what they've
They
got.
know the symptom, but they don't know why. Right.
Exactly.
Nice.
My DM strategy is not robust enough to book enough calls at the end of a week or end of a day. That's a pain point.
Yeah.
People ghost me in the DMs. There's your symptom. So think about the symptoms that your audience would face. So we
I
go
love that.
create content based on this. That's a commonality. If they've liked or responded to your post, happy days. That's brought them out. When you're doing top of funnel, which is broad, general, easy, a
Hmm.
little bit fluffier, middle of funnel, which is more symptom or pain point laced, and bottom of funnel, which is a hard call of action to get them to do something, you get different people are coming to them. I can predict who's going to come to what type of post. When you've got that magic happening, like I work with my clients to do, you've got real magic happening. So I know if you've commented on that middle of funnel post, Harlan, it's natural. Is it not correct? Would I not be letting you down if I wasn't to slightly explore that with you and find
Yep.
out why it was that resonated particularly with you? And then if you were to give me a response, why wouldn't I look to dig a little bit deeper? And then if it felt it was a good fit, would it not just make sense to jump on a call to explore that, what it would look like to work together? Of course it would. But this is where people get it wrong. They talk about
Sure.
themselves. They think they're the
Hmm.
big cheese when nobody cares. Stop. It's like storytelling. The hero of the story is never you, it's the
Right.
audience. We want the
Yeah.
audience to go, Harlan gets me. He gets me. Attract
Yeah.
and repel. Stop fucking being for everyone, because you can't be. When you try to attract everybody, your content is boring, bland, vanilla crap, and no one cares. The way I'm speaking right now, Harlan, some people are going to go, ah, Scottish guy fucking mentally swears too much. I don't like him. But there's going to be other people going, this guy's interesting. Attract and repel.
Absolutely.
I will shut up, my brother.
No, that's perfect. Well, one thing I wanted to go back to, you talked about strategy and tactics, and that's something I don't think people understand. They want the tactics, they want the hands-on. How do I do this?
Hmm.
The strategy is what's important, right? The who, what, when, where, and why. If you understand that, the tactic can float. It can do what you need at the time in the location, right? If you're talking about a certain social media uh, group or something like that, there's ways to do that. But as long as you have that strategy, and that's what people miss. They don't want a strategy. They don't want to think big picture. They want to know right now, what do I say in this instant? It's like stick to the strategic level.
Totally. Hey, guess what? It's harder, but you get a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Memorizing fact is not the same as learning. It's just
Right.
not. And that's what tactics are. Tactics will always, if it's like a flow chart, isn't it? If A happens, try A, B, A, B, C, or D. Okay, but what happens if E happens and you've not got an answer there? You need
Yep.
the skill, the strategy to know, interesting. They've said this. I've got that's how to respond to that. A flowchart
Nice.
won't give you that. But it's down to laziness. Harlan, that's why most coaches aren't seven-figure coaches, let alone six-figure coaches. It's why most LinkedIn influencers, your favorite influencers I am attracting and repelling, are broke because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Numbers ain't nothing in this game.
Yeah.
Only numbers, my brothers and sisters, to focus on are at the Stripe account at the end of the month. That's all that matters. All other numbers are irrelevant. Apart from how many people have you spoken to? Here's a little hack. You should be connecting with 15 people every single day. If you can't do 15, do 10. If you can't do 10, damn it, do 5. If you can't do 5, this shit ain't for you, all right? I
Right.
recommend
Go get
15.
a job.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to 9 and 5. I recommend 15. Now, that should
Nice.
be a combination of supporters. People like, for example, let's say Harlan doesn't need my services, had me on his podcast, likes hanging out. Cool. That'll be him jumping on my post as a supporter. He's
Mm-hmm.
not going to buy, but he likes me. He's bringing about 2% of his network. When he comments, we'll see that he's commented on my post. His network is full of people who could probably do with my help. Happy days. Lovely stuff. That's how that works. Or let's say Harlan goes, actually, Darren is my kind of guy. I'm a business coach. He helps business coaches. He's my sort of guy. I'm going to comment there. So decide who it is, but having that idea of a supporter or a
Mm-hmm.
supporter or a prospect. Supporters go for the 10, 15, even 20,000, a few 50, a few 100,000s. You're wanting them for visibility.
Mm-hmm.
Having them every day. 15 comments. 200, 300 comments, nonsense. I know who's saying that. You know who's saying that. I'm not going to call them out, but it's nonsense. 300 comments a day makes you everybody's best friend, but nobody's expert. My brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
do it simple. 15 quality comments a day. That's all you need to do. Don't be wasting time. And then 15 DMs a day with the right people. If you do that, Harlan, that's 75 a week, 300 a month. If you have 300 conversations with the right strategy a month, how many calls can you book?
Something's
How
going to
many
happen.
new
Yeah.
clients?
Yep. Yep. Love it.
That's it. Only
Very
numbers
cool.
to worry about. 15, 15, 15 in the strike balance, and you're golden.
Good job. All right. Let's talk a little bit about courage and leadership. Um,
Yeah.
First of all, you talked about some of the leaders you worked for when you were a teacher and how bad they were. What in your estimation, what makes a good leader?
Somebody who listens more than they talk.
Mm.
Somebody who is willing to share where they messed up in their earlier days, where you were, and what they learned from it. Somebody who's compassionate in failure and understands a failure is actually a learning experience. And as long as nobody died, it's all right and it's okay
Yeah.
to fail. I'd say that actually. I don't know if I've got much more than that to say. I don't think it's that much more. Of course, you need everything else and being the
Yeah.
expert and having the knowledge and the experience and everything. But I think those traits, maybe Harlan, it's not that far different from being a good human being.
There, there you go. That simple. Have you worked for a good leader? Somebody you remember was a good leader, made an impact?
No.
No. That's sad.
An all right leader. No, that's not fair, actually. Yeah, one when I was a trainee high school teacher, she was lovely. She was really, really nice. Um, didn't listen. A few of the traits I've said I would say wasn't great at, but no, she was nice. I certainly respected her. I liked her. Another one, not at all. Another one, yeah, all right. When I was doing sales, not one of them was a good friend of mine. Nope. Teachers, yes, the teachers who are leaders as well. Maybe why I'm a teacher. Yeah, absolutely. Teachers who, as I said to you, I wasn't a good student. I wasn't well behaved. I wasn't a good kid. I got into more trouble than praise. But those
Okay.
teachers who just believed in me, who would say, Darren, you silly little fucker, what did you do that for? But who's that affected? Yeah,
Right.
me. Right. So just don't do it again. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I get it. Those teachers who gave a shit, who gave me their 2 minutes and a bit more, more than a lot more than 2 minutes, who I felt had my back, who I felt that when I messed up or didn't do my best, didn't do something to my best, I've
Right.
let them down more than I've let myself down, and that would kill me. So yeah, I'd say as teachers, I've had a few excellent teachers, but as a leader, I am honestly struggling. As coaches and mentors, yes, I've had some excellent coaches and mentors over the years and over the last 5 years in this journey. Yes, incredible, best in class.
Nice. Um, what about you? If I was to bump into any of your students or any of your coworkers, or you don't have any employees that you work with, do you right now?
Not really, apart from a VA and a couple of folk in design. So no, not too much.
Right.
I quite like to, because I work with so many solopreneurs. I quite like to try and stick to that. It's like the website. I've still not got a functioning website. I've got a landing page. We don't need a website in
There you
2025.
go.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. But if I was to bump into any of the people you've worked with in the past, any of your students you've worked with, or anything like that, what would they say about your leadership? What kind of leader are you?
Talk more than I listen unless when I really need to listen. I do have a problem of over talking. Active listening is still something I have to work on a daily basis. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I listen. I listen, but I talk a fair bit. That idea of being compassionate, of being there for them, for having their back, for wanting them to achieve their full potential, for not allowing them to achieve anything other than their full potential, and someone that they can trust, someone that will tell it, put the arm around them and give them a hug when they need it, but also spin them 180 and give them a boot up the ass when they need it as well. I think that's what they'd say. Yeah, it's I do, I do listen. I think it's in teaching mode to probably talk more than listen. But I'd say that's the one thing I can still improve on would be the active listening. But yeah, I'd like to think they say that.
Very good. And then again, the podcast is about courage, right? Where do you find the courage to walk away from the 9 to 5 to start your own success? Where do you get that courage? Where does it come from? So for you, making that number one, the courage, you went down to Australia and New Zealand, met your girl, almost lost everything, but you had the courage to keep going, to try something and say, "Hey, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to do whatever I need to do." That takes courage. A lot of people would just kind of give up and say, "Oh, somebody come and rescue me while I just sit here." But you didn't do that. Where did you find that courage?
My goodness. Partially to stubbornness. Quite possibly. Partially to stubbornness. Um, say my parents, they've always kind of like it's almost that Scottish kind of British mentality, especially my parents, post-war parents. Just bloody get on with it. I think it's probably a bit of that, but yeah, just kind of wanting to do that bit more. I think even in later years, with regards to courage, it comes down to, and this sounds terrible, but it's not intended this way. But I mentioned it when I talked about setting up business during the pandemic. It's almost a little bit of what would your average person do? That's not what I'm doing. I'm going
Right.
above. And it sounds arrogant and it sounds horrible and it sounds like kind of almost punching down, which I absolutely do not intend it to be. And anybody who knows me will absolutely say it does not mean it like that. But I'm aware how it sounds and I want to preface it with that. But yeah, I think it is that. It's be the best version of yourself is too easy to say. It's kind of glittery and fluffy. It's to be the best version of yourself. What does that mean? And
Right.
actually, I think it is. It's that going beyond and above perhaps what the quote unquote average person would do. So it is that if I saw an old lady getting mugged, yes, I would run after the attacker. And something stupid could
Right.
happen to me. I am that idiot, other people would say. But it is just that I'm a big one in social justice and social
Mm.
equality. And I think that's it. So where to get the courage? I don't know. I think I've always kind of had that courage. It's funny you saying that. I would never have considered that to be courageous, what you said. Not for a
Well,
second. It's
some
just what
people,
you do.
yeah, some people write a book and others go, "Wow, how courageous!" Right? To put your thoughts out there and be able to take criticism from people. They don't want to do that, so they never write their book. They
Mm.
don't go up on stage and talk because they're afraid of failing or something like that. To me, it is courageous. To start your own business, I think is courageous. To see a need and go and try to fill that need is courageous. We talk about different types of courage too. There's of course physical courage, mental courage, spiritual courage, but there's courage like intellectual courage, the courage to say I don't know, the courage to say, hey, maybe your idea is better than mine, so make room for your idea in there. Empathetic courage. You talked. What do you think is a type of courage that most people maybe are missing right now?
Yeah, I think I'd like to say I'm intellectually courageous, although sometimes ego has to take a back seat a little bit. I say I'm lacking. I mean, I said earlier I was as an atheist. I mean, atheist, a light-hearted atheist, let's say it, but I think there's definitely a place for spirituality. I think, outside of a particular god, I think there is something. It's more of agnostic. So perhaps it probably is actually being a little bit more spiritually courageous, a little bit more perhaps agnostically courageous. We might even go as far to say. I think that's certainly something that I'm lacking, and I could improve on. And what give me another couple. I've forgotten them. Sorry, I do apologize, Harlan.
Well, the intellectual, empathetic courage, right? Emotional courage.
Yeah,
Empathetic seems to be a big one, right? People to be empathetic towards somebody, to make space for somebody else's feelings and emotions, especially as a leader. You have an employee that's struggling. You want
yeah,
to embrace that person. I mean, emotionally, not physically, probably, because that's
uh
HR gets involved and there's
yeah.
paperwork, and but you want to be able to support them, but then get them back on track to where they need to be.
Yeah, I
Hey,
think I think having been a teacher, if you
mhm,
don't have that empathetic
sure.
courage, then you have nothing. I remember just very quickly, uh, a boy, one of my first year teaching actually, in a nice school, but had a bit of a rough catchment area, and this boy would arrive late every morning to school, bombers like hashish holes in his top.
Mm,
Didn't smell or anything, but would just be late, sit in class, would never do homework, didn't give a shit, was rude to teachers, struggled with kids, would fight in the playground. One of those kids, as they were known, right?
yeah.
And he fascinated me because in my classroom, I never had any problems. I was firm with him. He knew where the line was. No doubts about it. I was firm with him, but he was good. Good enough. Homework and things, I needed to get to the bottom of that. So it
Mhm.
turned out this young man was 15 years old, he would have been, and single parent family. Okay, so that makes it a bit more difficult. But mum, tragically, a heroin addict.
Wow.
The boy actually severely dyslexic, which doesn't help education and learning.
No,
The
no.
local council gave his mum a few £100 to buy a laptop. That money
Mm.
obviously went in
How
her
did that
arm.
work? Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
her illness, her own problems, multiple different men in his life because of her. And it turned out, upon research, the reason this young man was late every morning to school was because he had to wake up at about 6:30 every morning, prepare his three brother and sisters breakfast, make sure they
Oh,
were washed, they were dressed, their clothes were clean, and take them to school before coming into school by himself.
wow.
And yet teachers would still give him shit for being late.
Sure.
Come on, this is ridiculous. So it's that
Yeah.
empathetic. You don't have your homework done from him, his name. Honestly, not really got a problem with that because if that was my life, school was
Yeah.
an escape for him to get away from the madness of a drug-fueled household,
Yeah.
of the madness of having to being responsible and looking after his three younger siblings. School was a release and a break. I wouldn't have done any work there. And what role models do you have? So talking about empathetic courage, I don't think it was courage, it was natural. But again, even then, so many teachers couldn't see and empathize with this kid and dare to talk to him about it. It blew my mind. But yeah, anyway, I've digressed. Again, I do apologize.
No, that's awesome. That's the type of thing we're looking for. But that does take courage, right? You have to put yourself out there and make enough room for these other people and stuff. So I think that's definitely courageous.
Took courage also to shout at him as he pushed out a table and raised a chair to throw at me as well, I suppose. I suppose that was courageous.
Wow.
That's an enduring memory, thinking I'm about to get smashed in the face with a chair by a 15-year-old kid who's bigger and stronger
Yeah.
than I am. Oh, jeez. But to his credit, he caught himself in the moment. Get outside now!
Yes.
Got himself outside. I'm thinking he's been a runner. He's out of here. I calmed the class because I wasn't going to go straight out to him because I had 20 other kids in front of me who at that moment I had to look after him, my moment of
Sure.
care and duty.
Yeah.
Made him wait outside. Sure, he's done a runner, you know? No. Walk outside 2 minutes later, outside the classroom. He's standing there, head between his feet. And just like my teachers used to say to me, I said, Marcus, what the fuck were you doing in there? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a bad day.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't ready to tell me what that bad day was. Marcus, go to the toilet, and he starts crying. God love him. That's his pride. Go to the toilet, clean yourself up, take a few deep breaths, but I'm trusting you to come back. And God love him, he was back in that bloody classroom 3, 4 minutes later. So just
Nice.
how can I not love a young
Yeah.
man like that, you know? So yeah, incredible young man.
Absolutely. Very cool. Good stuff. So, Darren, what's next for you? You've done a lot. You've experienced a lot. What's next? What's coming up in your year?
Yeah, exciting stuff. Really exciting stuff. So it's almost next should be 5 years I've been doing this, and I've done a lot of one-on-one work, and that's where I know I really excel. That's where I know I love it the most. I'm still a teacher. I'm not a coach. I'm sorry, respect to all coaches. Coaches are coaches and teachers are teachers, and I can't be anything other than a teacher. So I still work with my clients and teach them. So yeah, doing more one-on-ones because it's incredible transformations we're able to get together, but also going to be launching a membership as well, because I know
Nice.
that for some people, especially in lower converting countries, it's just not quite possible to work with me on a consistent basis one-on-one.
Mhm.
So probably going to, not probably, I am going to set up a membership as well, which is going to be exciting. And then running a few challenges. I've only done 2 challenges this year, so I run a quarterly challenge as well. So yeah, exciting things. Just so you know yourself, brother, it takes courage to set up your own business, but just to be your own boss and to decide what am I going to do next year is one of the most beautiful gifts that I think we can give to ourselves as self-employed entrepreneurs.
Yep. Very cool. Good stuff. Well, Darren, I appreciate you coming on, man. I've loved this conversation. Would love to have you back on because there's so many different areas we could go into. Would love to have
Be
you
an
back.
absolute pleasure, Harlan. Let's do it. Let's get that set
Yeah.
up. I've listened. I've loved chatting to you. A different style of many podcasts that I've been on. So it's been beautiful, and I've really enjoyed it. And if you're still listening at the end of this, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this mad Scotsman stories. And
Uh,
no, thank you, Harlan. Let's do this again. I've loved every minute. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. All right. If people want to get in touch with you or find out more about you and the programs you offer and stuff, how can they do that? What's your website?
Website, darrengibb.com. That'll get you signed up to my newsletter, and I've got all sorts of goodies that I really should be bloody charging for, to be honest, but you get that free of charge. On LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com/IN/Darren Gibb, DarrenGibb, one word, or just search Darren Gibbs, a hell of a lot easier. And that's it. Darren Gibb without the S. I said it with an S for some reason. Darren Gibb is the name. That's the best way. Yeah, or if you really want to get
Got it.
personal, Darren@darrengibb.com. But bloody hell, let's not jump straight into bed, listeners. Let's
That's
go
right.
for a drink first.
Let's chat for a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. I'll make sure all those links are down in the show notes for everybody and stuff. And I do hope they reach out to you. I think you've got a lot to offer. And you and I are going to be talking because I love the stuff you're working on, sales and marketing. I think I could learn. I could absolutely learn. All
Beautiful.
right.
We'll look forward to it.
Listeners, hope you guys have been taking notes. A lot of good information here. Check out the links down in the show notes and make sure you get in touch with Darren. And yeah, look out. Share this with your family, friends, colleagues, and stay tuned because there's always more coming. All right. That's it for me, Coach Harlan, saying so long for now.
Thank you very much. So long, everyone.
Very
Have a
cool.
lovely day.
Awesome. Good job. Very cool.
Brilliant. Awesome. I'm sorry I broke the F-bomb contract quite early
That's okay.
on.
That's okay. Maybe I'll just put a note at the beginning saying, you know, not suitable for work or something. I don't know. Don't listen to it out loud on the bus. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I hate those. I'm glad we
Uh,
got into that one.
my wife and I
Harlan,
talk about this all the time. All the time. We fly a lot, and somebody's on the plane having a conference call or something, like listening to something. It's like, what are you doing? What are you
totally.
thinking?
It's but it's I don't think they know they're being rude. I think they think this is acceptable and norm. I sometimes think, am I the weird one? Am I the
Right.
one that's got like these high expectations for society? I don't know, but it's like, so
Yeah.
sometimes I find myself quickly doing it if I want to see something and I'll put up the volume and I'll literally sit there and go, you awful human being, you're as bad
Yeah.
as them. And I'll quickly put it away again. Oh, it does absolutely, it fries my head. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Or turn your phone on and start playing some opera music or something really, really loud.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
sorry, I have to have it this loud to hear it over your, soccer game or whatever. Yeah. Very cool.
Oh, I love it.
All
There's a
right.
whole podcast episode on that alone, my friend.
Definitely. All right, man. Well, I'm going to get this together. What I'm doing is I'm getting a bunch of episodes because this is my third season, right? I've got
Right.
250 episodes. Then my wife and I took 2 years off to just kind of travel.
You said that, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm back. So I'm putting these together and they'll all launch in January. So as soon as I know
Awesome.
the date and everything like that, I will send it to you. I'll make up a couple little teasers that I'll be putting out on social media. Like, here's a question I ask, here's your response, and here, click here to see the full episode. I'll send those to you. And if you're good with those, we'll start marketing all
Perfect.
over, put them out. Make sure
Absolutely.
we're connected on LinkedIn, and or
Yes,
Facebook or whatever,
definitely.
so we can share information out there.
Definitely. I really enjoyed that. I do a lot of podcasts, but I really supremely enjoyed that. Thank you. I had a great, great time. And yeah, if you want to do it again, more than happy to do it. I felt like a
Absolutely.
very natural conversation. So yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And if you are interested in finding out, I know you've got your further episodes booked in, but if you do want to find out a little bit more about what it looks like to work together, what we plan on, more than happy to have that conversation as well. You've got my
Okay.
email and I'll make sure we're connected and we can talk
Perfect.
about that as well. All right.
Perfect. Sounds good, man. All right.
Brilliant,
Have a
brother.
great weekend and happy holidays to you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Have a wonderful Christmas, wonderful New Year. And yes, we'll speak soon. Thanks again. Really enjoyed that, my friend.
Thank you,
Take
man.
care.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.